Greetings and welcome to the LexaGene Planet MicroCap Webcast. It is now my pleasure to introduce your host, President and Co-Founder, Darryl Rebeck. Thank you, Mr. Rebeck. You may begin.
Okay, thank you. So I'll try to go somewhat quickly to allow some time for questions. So I'll sort of just wing it off these slides, but they'll kind of be in the background. But again, thank you. I'm the President and Co-Founder of LexaGene. We trade on the TSX Venture under LXG and the OTCQB as LXXGF. And we've been public since about October 2016. So forward-looking statements, I think everyone's aware how these work, but obviously we'll be making some. Slide 3. So we're a biotech company developing a genetic analyzer for pathogen detection. So what that means is we look for anything that can hurt us, and really it's something that, you know, in today's day and age, especially right now, this is obviously very, very relevant. So it's something that is needed, it's something that's relevant, and we'll definitely get into that a little bit more. What we're bringing is a reference laboratory quality data to the point of need. So really right now, what the big trend in many industries, as we all can understand, is you want to be able to test anywhere and everywhere, especially with something that's easy to use, accurate, and quick. So again, we'll get into that a little bit, but keep your mind open to thinking of all these different areas where this is obviously very relevant right now. So I'm just going to put my timer on so I don't ramble on too much. Okay. So right now, we might as well jump into COVID because it's very important, it's very relevant, and it's one of the things that everybody's obviously talking about right now for good reason. So the burden we have right now is something we've been talking about for quite some time. If you go back 3 years or 4 years ago when we started the company, Jack, my partner, who's one of the foremost experts in infectious disease and influenza and relative respiratory diseases, this is something that we predicted would happen. Unfortunately, it is happening, and something where it really brings the need for quick, easy-to-use diagnostics at point of care. And it's something now that everyone understands. It's something now where it is the topic of conversation. So it's very timely for us. We are a company that was invented, and we founded this company to do just this, of pandemic control. The problem in this situation is because the testing wasn't readily available and wasn't implemented properly of a large enough scale, we have now a burden and we have now a pandemic, which is something that has a lot of legs still. It's most likely going to come back in the fall heavy, and this is something that's become a major, major issue. So it's really brought up, you know, we need to test more often. And even if you go back a couple years, you can read some Gates publications where they're very focused on the cure. And we've actually talked to them quite a few times about the cure is great and we need one, but it takes a while. On the next pandemic, you need to catch it early and you need to catch it quick. And obviously we've missed that on this one. So again, very relevant. I'll get into why we're different than other technologies, et cetera. But it's definitely something that's insanely relevant right now. So if we look at right now, better testing, what does that mean? People want testing right now. They need testing. There's thousands of people waiting for testing. The thing that's really coming to motion right now and the demand is really starting are you having practitioners and lab techs and all the people doing the testing saying, we don't want to just look for one pathogen at a time. And when we invented LexaGene, it was to do 27 pathogens at a time. And some people thought that was too many. Some people didn't really understand the need for that. But what's happening right now is there's about 20 pathogens that can really hurt you on a respiratory basis alone. So on the slide, what you're seeing is 6 different viruses here that hurt you very badly that have the same signs as COVID does. So what we're finding right now is you have practitioners going, I'm very frustrated because I'm only looking for COVID. I'm sending people away that probably have influenza, which has already had 61,000 deaths since October. So, well, between 25 and 61 because they're trying to quantify. Anyway, that's a different story. But really, you know, you have 45 million cases a year in influenza alone. Doctors are sending people home right now saying that's probably influenza. It's probably something that's very serious. But right now, we're only making space for COVID. And because I'm only testing for COVID, it's saying that person doesn't have COVID. I'd like to look for more than one thing. So if you look at someone like Roche, which is obviously a huge company, 12,000 employees, they're getting a lot of press on their machine right now, looks for 9 at a time. LexaGene looks for 27, so 3 times as much. Their test takes 2.5 hours. We can do ours in 45 minutes if we remove sample prep. If not, it's around an hour. So, we're 3 times better than that machine. We look for 3 times more things. This whole COVID pandemic has really opened up the information flow and the voice of practitioners to say, listen, I don't want a single-plex test, i.e. one test. I want to look for many things because I don't want to send people away that don't have it. So very important here to keep in mind. On the next slide, what's very, very important, again, early in the outbreak is how you contain pandemics. And if we did it properly, you could have contained it a lot better. You quarantine the people who have it, and you don't quarantine the rest of the world that doesn't have it. What's wrong with a lot of the other technologies right now, if you look at them, and we'll get into it, is they just don't find things early enough, and they're getting way too many false negatives. False positives are horrible, but in this situation, false negatives are worse because you're sending someone home that might be very early in the outbreak stage and very early signs, but you're sending that person home, telling them you don't have it right now potentially, but you should be careful, and it's giving a false sense of, okay, well, from a medical point of view, I don't have it, they're affecting people around them, and it's a big problem. So we find it at the second you're infected, we can find it because we look for a tiny strand of your DNA. We can also quantify how much you have, etc. So we're catching it in people super early, like day 1, day 2. Some of these other tests, if you're looking for antigens, for example, that happens on day 13 or 14 because it's looking for immunity, and you don't develop immunity until about day 12 or day 13. So again, very early in the cycle, what do you want? I want to know I have it. If it's not that, I want to know if you have something else, and I want to make sure it's right, and that's where LexaGene comes in. Middle outbreak is where we were sort of a little while ago, trying to flatten the curve, keeping the people quarantined. Is not, again, we can tell you how much you have, so there is a potential to say, listen, you have COVID or something else, but you're early in the cycle, you're mid in the cycle, or you're late in the cycle, so that at least we could say, instead of just yes or no, your levels are so low, just go home and be careful, lots of rest, obviously try to be healthy, et cetera, and try to pass and take some of that pressure off the hospitals and care centers. Right now, what we're seeing is later on in the outbreak, we're trying to eradicate the spread of the disease. So what we're looking for now, and again, where LexaGene comes in at a high favor, is we can now trace the people you've met with. We will catch whatever they have and if they've had it, and you can go down that chain. If you're using other technology and say you go to Uncle Smith and he comes in as negative, it breaks the chain of how you're trying to follow where you got the pathogens because you're trying to contain it in that sense. So again, this is not going away anytime soon, and our tests are very, very important in each one of these levels. Whereas other tests are only good in one or, well, mostly one, but potentially 2 of those levels. So again, the limitations of the test, not to get into too much, but I think the constant questions that we're getting, which are fair, and we actually thoroughly enjoy them because it gives us a chance to illustrate the technology. But, when the Abbott tests came out, which have now been deemed clinically unuseful, and the Cleveland Institute just brought out a bunch of tests today talking about how there's just too many false negatives, and practitioners don't even want to use them, they don't rely on them. They don't like them, never mind the fact that they order thousands of them, and the hospital that we're talking to right now, received 47 of them, and they don't know when they're going to get more. So there's a huge issue there. But the reality is that test is not sensitive enough. It does not work. There's way too many false negatives. It's going to be irrelevant here soon because people just don't want to use it. They were traditionally used in tests in Africa and places where resources are low, but resources here are not low. The testing is low, but it's not doing the job, and it's becoming a problem. Isothermal, again, looks for one thing. A lot of our competitors are isothermal, look for those keywords. Again, it's 5 to 30 minutes, but it looks at only one. They do not do sample prep, so you don't have that concentration properly. It hurts their sensitivity. Again, practitioners are tired of using them. What do they want? On the bottom there, they want the gold standard, which is PCR, insanely accurate, high 90s. Very sensitive, very specific, meaning, again, you're not going to get a lot of false positives. You're not going to get a lot of false negatives. And you get a qualitative information. How much do you have? Did you have it before, et cetera? This is what practitioners want. Also, you can look for 27 things at a time with LexaGene. Here's your chance to look for whatever it is, because it's not just COVID that's hurting people right now. We all understand that. Going forward for the rest of our life, which is forever changed now, this is very important. If you're looking, you want to look for many things at once because, again, this won't be the only pandemic. There's going to be another one. We feel like this is going to be a yearly thing, which sucks. So now you have this strain of coronavirus, probably another one coming. and you've got obviously regular influenza, that's a yearly thing. So again, going forward, this is something that all practitioners want. Okay, what is the damage done? We kind of went through that again. If you see here, you're looking for one thing, and we're looking for 27 at a time. I won't get into this too much because I'm looking at my clock here. So again, you want to look for more than one thing. False negatives are a big problem right now. You don't want to give people the idea that, again, they're not infected when they are. Microfluidic technology, you can look at that later. I'll go quickly into this. The foundations of this technology are really interesting and what really captivated me at the beginning. I mentioned Dr. Jack Reagan, my partner's history, obviously very impressive. Lead author on many different technologies to deal with this, public safety, biodefense. The technology did have $20 million into it from Homeland Security and Department of Defense. It was used in their BioWatch program at the Olympics, transit station, etc. Foundations of the instrument were stick it in the corner, process huge amounts of air looking for weaponized smallpox, anthrax, etc., spit the cartridge out, put it back in, keep testing. So again, fully autonomous. We've added the one step of collect the sample, put it in, hit a button. Again, a lot of this I've done. The 1 hour, I wouldn't focus too much on that. There's a lot of technology that does it in around an hour. It's important. I think that's the mark, and that is the mark that people are comfortable with. Again, you can have multiple machines doing multiple things. When you get into the 2.5 hours, it starts to be a hindrance. And when you get less than an hour, you can maybe do 45 without sample prep without affecting it if you get a really good nose sample. If not, you want to go to, again, this is the protocol, this is the standard. We're 98.2 concordance. I will say here, if you're looking at other companies, go on their website, see their data, make sure it's listed, make sure they did their studies, make sure they show it works, because it's amazing how many of these companies have no information, no tests, no testimonials that the technology works. When people bring up Theranos, it's the exact same thing. You can come to our office, see it works. You can load your own samples because anyone can use it. You can see the data. You can see the testimonials, etc. So again, works. It is what is needed. We have 2 patents issued. We just did another one, etc. And these markets, not just human clinical, are very important because vet diagnostics, for example, $6 billion industry, very little competition on the PCR side. The industry is going towards in-house testing in an hour, same cost, send the pet away, provide the proper, say that person needs a antibody or antibiotics, or give them the right one, because the broad-based use of antibiotics are why we're in this position, both humans and pets. I'm pushing time here. Let me just speed up a little bit. Went through most of this stuff, so if you want to look at that and send me questions, I can answer. Again, this is just, we've done our studies. It's all online. Antibody resistance genes we can look for, which is very important when you give people that it's the right thing and they're not resistant to it. We've done UTI studies. We've done food safety studies. We've done all our studies, and we're 98% concordant. We expect that to get to the high 90s, 99, 99.5. That's where you want to be. So we're there right now. This is all in mind. I definitely urge you to look at this. I definitely urge you to look at other technologies because it comes up all the time. You know, what are they doing? How do they do it? How does it work, etc. Again, I went through this. We got to find it early and we got to find it fast. And you got to do it everywhere. And that's something where going forward in the future, this is definitely absolutely something that everybody's focused on. Quickly here, we have loading. We have 25 employees right now. We started as a 2-person operation subcontract, so we've built up an insane team. We continually attract people from 10, 12, $13 billion companies to leave with pay cuts to come work for our company, which is very, very validating. You know, again, I'm not a scientist. I'm more of an investor. I was a senior VP at Canaccord for 15 years and then went and ran a bunch of companies and sold them. But you know, again, when you see the talent that keeps getting attracted, it's very important. 86 million shares out. We got 27 million warrants, largely out of the money, so they're not an issue right now. We've raised around 21 million US because we just brought in some warrant money. Again, listed in Canada and the US. This is just quick too. We do have a razor blade razor model. These cartridges are single use only. You use them once, you throw them in the garbage. So it really allows you to not have to make so much money on the machines. You can make a lot of money on the cartridges, and our margins on the cartridges are about 80%. Use it once, throw it out. That's very normal in the business. What's different for us is we're insanely low cost. We can compete in food safety where the average cost per test is around $27. You can compete in vet diagnostics where it's $80. Most of our competitors have a very high cost filter. There's a lot of steps to use it, and you need a licensed technologist in a lot of these different places. So again, this is something where we're trying to, and we have done, is embed something that is absolutely plug and play, lab on a chip, put it in the machine, hit the button, and you get your results in an hour. Again, this is where we're at right now. Very exciting times. Placement of instruments is coming in where you want to see it. We've got quality systems already set up for manufacturing we're announcing soon. We will be applying for FDA clearance very shortly. Hiring sales, beginning manufacturing. We're near sales right now, which is the most exciting time. And again, if you look at our competitors, and I think that's in here somewhere, you have a hugely undervalued company for where we're at. Last-ish slide. Again, the talent here, in this list alone, there's billions and billions of dollars of market cap experience. We continue to add people that are coming from these huge companies to work with us. It's very, very impressive and very motivating. So if you have some time, take a look at that. Where am I at here? Okay, I better stop talking. So yeah, that's pretty much it. If anyone has any questions, I don't really see any here. I don't think so. So I got a couple minutes. So yeah, I think, you know, one of the things that is really interesting here, and again, it's obviously very motivating and validating, and it's very relevant right now with COVID, is the fact that testing is on everybody's mind. There's more people that understand it than ever, and again, it's something that is very critical. It's something that's needed, and something that'll never be the same, and we're very well suited to capture a lot of this interest. Number two, I want to emphasize is you do also have other businesses that we're applicable to that is very hard for others to compete in. A lot of diagnostics companies just go after human clinical. The problem there is if they can't compete, and you're also competing against multi-billion-dollar companies with 10,000 and 20,000 employees, they tend to not make it. So what we have, which is not a lack of focus, is the ability to go after many industries at a time when they're all very interested and in huge demand of it. So if you look at vet safety, for example, at diagnostics, they want someone to come in, they want to give the right answers, they want to give them the right antibiotics, and they want to give them the proper testing and ounce. And if you look at that industry right now, our head of capital markets had a dog misdiagnosed, rampant infection, almost died. And by the time he got the results for what that infection was, the dog was already in second surgery for thousands of dollars. So you want to have better service. You want to have better results. You want to know exactly what people are sick with or animals. So vet diagnostics, again, is growing at a rapid rate. Walmart's entering the space. Mars is accumulating everything. There's been about $15 billion in acquisitions in the last month and a half in that industry that's consolidating like crazy. They want this. They need it. It's something that's very, very strong in demand right now because they don't want to wait 5 days for results. Again, water quality, a huge industry. Of course, it's not that exciting or sexy like COVID. Huge industry, though, $3 billion. In desperate need of genetic testing because they're missing too much. Food safety, again, massive industry. How do you compete there? It's almost impossible for any of our competitors because they're only going to pay X amount of cost. They're very cost sensitive. So if they come in and say $27, they go, thank you very much. Obviously, you can't do that. We're going to leave. And when we say, listen, we can, and we can compete there and make money there, they're very, very excited about it. So that's another industry. We would love genetic testing. I don't want to wait 2 days for my lettuce to get tested. It's sitting in a warehouse losing 2 days of shelf life. It's very expensive. That warehouse is it's temperature and humidity controlled. I'm waiting for that to come back. I don't want to wait. I want to know in 1 day you're going to save me millions and millions of dollars. Chipotle, their head of food safety that was brought on to fix the disaster that they had is on our board. Again, if you look at that company, lost billions of market cap over food safety issues, 24/7 media, people being more educated. You can't get away with it anymore. It's a huge issue. So again, very, very critical for other industries. We're very relevant there as well. And the COVID aspect is very, very relevant, and it's getting more relevant by the day because people are starting to understand, okay, I get where those tests don't work. I get how those tests don't work. So it's been a very interesting education process for us, where the questions are now getting more, dare I say, intelligent on the industry and more specific with more knowledge behind it. So all that works to our favor. It's one of these companies where if you come and see what we do, you leave there super, super impressed. And if we have the opportunity to tell our story every day, it makes a huge difference. And right now, being so relevant, we are talked about every day. We're just in Forbes again for the second time. Again, if you're looking at companies, that's not something you can pay for. They have to find you. So the profile of our company is getting bigger by the day. The opportunity is getting bigger by the day, and we're at the most exciting time we've ever been at the company, period. And we're at one of our lowest market caps. So it's an amazing time to look at something like this. Once we hit sales, which is Q3 this year, we will also look for a NASDAQ uplist. It's something we need to do to capture the interest, and this huge, hot industry in the U.S. Is something that we wanted to do from day one, but we were waiting till we have enough momentum in sales and cash flow positive potentially to go on the NASDAQ and make sure you capture that. So amazing time right now to buy. It's never been stronger, and I don't think there's ever been a bigger disconnect to the share price. Okay. I think I've gone over my time.
No worries. Did you have any questions in the Q&A?
Oh.
All right. So, I mean, if you have any closing
comments. I've got a
comments.
few here, yeah.
All right.
I'll do this quick, because how many minutes do I have?
Take a couple more minutes.
Okay. So there's a couple here. Planning on placing machines for COVID testing. Without saying too much, yes, very shortly. And it's something that obviously is going to enforce all these points. So quick answer to that is yes. Plan on getting FDA clearance. Yes, we plan on starting our study very shortly. Again, I can't say too much. That is in motion. If you see most of the FDA clearance, the EUA, it has been these billion-dollar companies. I think actually what I forgot to mention, and I can segue into that, is if you look at the amount of time it's taken for them to get EUA, because once you submit your EUA, it's actually quite quick, and your testing would take very little time with a large company. So the gene was sequenced in January. They're just now getting tests out there right now, and practitioners can't get enough of them. Where LexaGene is very different, and this is something we've been saying since day one, but it was really hard to illustrate what it was, is we are open access. The second a gene is sequenced, you can load it on the machine and start testing. So where we're placing the machine is saying, I have all these other machines, they're great and all, but I cannot get tests because you have to re-embed the agents on their filters. You have to have licensed technicians at a lot of them, et cetera, et cetera. On ours, you sequence the gene, we got the gene from the CDC. A day later, we sequenced it, we showed it worked on the machine, and it's done. In practice, you could do the same thing. Sequence the gene, put it on the machine because it's open access, or in the pharmaceutical industry, they could do it that way, so there's lots of applications. Again, open access, you can start testing the next day. On the next pandemic, you're going to want something open access so you don't have to wait for all these people to vet cartridges and produce enough to get it tested. But that is coming. Are we looking to grow out or be acquired? It's a hard question. It's definitely one of the questions as a startup where you will talk about it daily as we do. I think as you grow the company in sales and cash flow positive, if you look at comparables like Genmark, 80 million in sales, $240 million market cap, no profit. Their costs are just too high. They have 211 machines out there. So if you look at competitors and what their market caps are, and we will be cash flow positive very soon in terms of that scalability, you can get some pretty serious market cap. That said, if you look at Jack's company after he left Livermore, they sold for $160 million US with 1 quarter sales, 18 units sold, and only 800 grand in revenue. So there is a time and a place in diagnostics companies where you consider offers if they're there because it takes the risk of adoption and sales and everything else that comes with it. But at the same time, if you grow it out, your valuation is reflected. So that is something we will look at, throughout the process. And we don't have to be acquired to be successful. So that's something that we will look at as it goes and see what transpires there. EUA clearance, someone asked, we're starting our study soon. You have to do hundreds and hundreds of tests. The report is about 1,000 pages. It takes a little bit of time, but they're turning around pretty quickly here. So it shouldn't take too long, and it's something we're starting on very soon. Food beta test planned. Yes, we've done a bunch. In the past. The problem with food safety is they're very sensitive in that industry about their name or anything there. So if you're a lettuce company and you're out there saying we have a new testing method, people don't say great for you, you must be safer. They say you must have had an issue, and why are you changing the process? So it's something that's very sensitive. It's the one industry where if you get a ton of traction, which we do have in that industry, you're never going to be able to talk about any of the companies. So at this stage in the company, we can't say who it is. We can't even allude to what it is, and it makes it very hard to news release that. So that is something that is a bit of a hindrance in that industry. On the profit model and the sales, at that point, not who cares, but at least then if you don't mention who it is but you're getting sales, it'll take care of that question. A patent for this machine, we have 2 patents on the machine. We have 3 more that we submitted. We have another 2 we're submitting, so we are patent protected. Jack is the lead author on the original machines that where the $22 million was spent. Latest patent sounds exciting. Yes, the new patent on the new machine is very exciting. It's an industry we weren't going to pursue right away, but when you look at reference labs, which isn't really the sweet spot, but it's still in a very high demand. They want to do hundreds and hundreds of tests a day. So we did submit a patent on an instrument that can do 15 tests at once. And what that allows people to do in vet or human clinical is you can now look for hundreds a day and do your mass processes, which they want to do. So again, I think we're a lot more suited to the one-offs because it's something that absolutely doesn't exist right now, and they do have large machines that they cost, $300,000, $400,000. They're liquid processing machines. But again, a 15-link instrument is in demand, and that is the new patent, so that we have a multiple product offerings, and we'll continue to adapt and go over through time, so we're not just a single-use instrument only. The commercial machine will, yes, look a little different than the beta. We will be releasing that soon. It looks very, it's very, I want to say cool, but then I sound like I'm 12 years old, but it's very neat looking. It's small. It's about 12 inches by 15 inches. It's very practical. It's very easy to use. It'll be a very exciting launch. Again, we won't be a single instrument company. We'll be doing more instruments over the years, but it will, yes, look quite a bit different. On the beta, if you have a picture there, that side part is gone because that's a bit of a hindrance. It is shorter because a lot of the vets said it had to be a certain size to fit under cabinets, and it is stackable. It is more square, and the interface is more integrated in the front of the instrument, so it's not sticking up top. So yeah, it will look different. Oh, I think there's one more. Nope. I think that's it. So again, we're always around. If this was normal times, I would say to anyone to come by. I've never seen someone come by and not be blown away. We have 18,000 square feet and 25 employees. And an unbelievable lab, biosafety level 2 lab as well. We have a processing plant on the roof to deal with all the chemicals and any potential issues. So barring that not being able to happen, I would say there's a lot of videos online. There's a lot of reports from places like Forbes who again can't pay. A lot of testimonials. See the vet testimonial. I think that really enforces what they feel about the instrument, whether they like it. You'd swear that we paid them for what they said because it's just so positive. And obviously we didn't do that. So just, I can't urge people enough to do research, look into these things where you have a really fine-tooth comb to make sure it works. They show how it works. They show what it does. They have the data. And again, we have a ton of resources online. I think you'd be very impressed. Barring coming to visit, which you can't do right now, I think it's worth the time. Again, look at valuations, look at the competition. If you look at Genmark, that's a good one. If you look at Quantalife and how that went down, that was Jack's company before he went to Biorad, which is a $10 billion company that he left to run this. You can see that those people now started a company called 10X, $200 million in sales, but no profit again. It's got a $6 billion market cap. So there's a lot of relative comparisons based on history and comparables. We have a lot of ex-Cepheid employees that just got bought for $12 billion by Thermo Fisher. We have a lot of ex-Qiagen people. which again is an $8 billion company. We have a lot of BioFire people. That was bought by $500 million by bioMérieux. So again, it's a very exciting space where things are grown by acquisition. No companies do R&D anymore, and we continually attract that talent. So if you have any questions or concerns or anything you want, we're always available by phone or email, and can absolutely start a conversation and send any question you have, because again, we like answering them, because the answer is usually what people want to hear. So with that, I would say thank you very much, and different times these days, that's for sure. This is a bit awkward. I'm used to doing it in person, but I do appreciate everyone's time, and hopefully I didn't ramble on too much.
Thank you so much. And with that, that does conclude today's webcast. Everyone, you can disconnect at this time. Thank you for your participation, and have a great evening.
Same to you. Thank you.